Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We all have a story, and that also includes our pets, our animals. Obviously, we can't talk with them or communicate with them, or can we? She can. I've seen her do it before. She's done it with my animals. She's an animal communicator, and the information you get from our animals is amazing, especially if they were adopted, or maybe they had a troubled past that you don't know about, but you wonder based on their behavior. Shirley Scott joins us on the program. Hey, Shirley.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Very well. Great to have you back here. And I'm
Thank you.
very gratified to talk about this today because all of my animals are rescues, and I always wondered what they went through before I found them. And do people call upon you to find out their animals' past?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, a lot of people, even before they adopt, will call me and say, this is the animal I'm interested in. Can you tell me a little bit about them? So that they have some background, because, you know, animals that have been abused, especially like, you know, you pick up a newspaper and they cower, they run away. And it's really good to find out what that animal went through before its life with you. And that way the animal can tell you all sorts of things about what makes it afraid, what, you know, kind of what its triggers are. And that way the human can avoid those things and really work with that animal. You know, there's a saying that there's 333 when you rescue an animal. And, you know, it takes them 3 days to even relax. It takes them 3 weeks to really get to know the layout of things around the house, and it takes them at least 3 months to learn the new rules.
Wow. I never heard the 333 concept, but I'm thinking back to my animals, and it seems very reasonable. And I think I've shared with you before, my one cat, Rocco, that I have now, I am thoroughly convinced that he is the same cat, or he was sent by my previous tabby. They both look the same, by the way. They have the same build. They're just as sweet. And that was Maestro. I'm convinced that Maestro sent Rocco. I wonder if I'll ever know. You haven't communicated with him yet.
Ask Rocco. I think Rocco is your other cat. And, you know, cats or animals reincarnate much faster than humans do. And I know a lot of people that don't believe in it, but I have seen things that and you too experience. It's just, there's too many what they call coincidences, which yep. I don't believe in them. I call them coincidences, and I don't believe in them. But if an animal comes back into a different body, they will bring back things. You know, they'll do something the same way that they did it in the previous life, or they'll answer the same way. And it's usually something that's so different from another animal, you know, and not like, oh, just the dog likes the ball, you know. I just talked to a client the other day who adopted a dog, and we went through the whole, yes, that's the soul of your old dog, it's come back, and she went and got this puppy, and she got it home, and the puppy picked up the ball and started batting it almost like a cat would, and then around the house, and then stopped and looked at her, and she said all I could hear was him say, see, I told you I was here. And she just knew that was, you know, her other dog, and he had passed, he'd been gone about 6 months, and here was this other puppy that just came to her, you know, kind of like Rocco came to you, you know. The angels will bring them to us.
How do you know, or how are you certain that that's what's going on? Because there are people that are skeptical, will say, yeah, come on, Shirley, really? Yeah, you could just say that. How are you so sure?
You know, I get a message from my spirit guides, and I'll get a yes or a no. You know, I don't just agree with everybody that calls, and, you know, I've had clients call and say, oh, I'm sure this is the one, and I've said, no, it's not really, and they get it, and then they call me, you know, 3 weeks later and go, it's not the one, it's not, you know. But there is a knowing in our soul is the only way to put it. When you look into a dog or cat's eyes and you get this message that I'm back, or it's me, or you just get this knowing, humans have a knowing about them. It's sort of like when you just know I'm going to slip and fall on this, and you slip and fall. That's a knowing in your soul about what is real and what is happening. And if more of us listen to that, we'd be a lot better off. But I hear my spirit guides say yes or no, and then you look into their eyes, because the eyes really are the gateway to the soul. They really are. And you will get answers in your head.
I want to just recap something that happened a few weeks ago. Sounds a little silly, but it backs up what you're saying, and I want to seg that into something else that we're going to talk about. But I had a situation where one of the cats was peeing outside the litter box, and you walked me through it and said, send a image and a message that it's making me sad that you're doing this. Why are you doing it? And I got a message back that I changed the plastic bags that I line my litter box with. And apparently that was it, because I changed the bag back to the old ones and it stopped. I didn't even know. It was when I thought about it, I got an image in my head, and I believe it came from one of my cats, because I wasn't sure which one it was. And I bring that up because me wondering if Rocco was sent by Maestro, if it's the same cat. Should I do the same thing? Should I look in Rocco's eyes and send that, or even verbally say, hey, what's going on? Are you Maestro? Are you the same cat? Did you send the other cat? A side note, by the way, I rescued Maestro. He'd been in a cage for about a year. Bad conditions he came from in a home. And when I got Rocco, it was helping. I got him for a reason, to help my family heal from something. So I believe that Maestro sent him because I helped Maestro heal from a situation. But should I do that? Should I just send those vibes and see if the answer comes back?
Yep. Send him the message and be specific. That's what I tell people. Animals live in the present moment, and they're very specific about things. So, look at him and say, are you Maestro? And see what you get. And then just listen, and you'll get in your head, you will get either a yes or a no, or I'm back. Sometimes they'll go, I had a client one time, and she asked her cat that, and this cat went over to the toy box, dug through the toy box, brought out the other cat's favorite toy, and brought it over and dropped it in front of her, like a dog would do, but dropped it in front of her and then looked up at her. And all she heard was, yeah, I am, see? So they do answer you. And reincarnation, I know a lot of people, don't believe in it. But if you believe that we are energy beings and we have free will of doing anything we want, you almost have to believe in reincarnation. And there have been even documented cases of humans that have come back and known things that they should never have known. And they've documented them. So, and animals come back, and they don't have to come back, but they usually, if they feel that they want to come back to us because we have a very deep connection, I call it a soul connection, if they want to come back to us, the angels make it possible, and they make them find us. I mean, there's no mistakes in that. And, a lot of our animals that people take in, they don't have like a soul connection. I call them just, they're the caretaker of that animal. But a lot of times that animal then will come back and find somebody else. But our animals that we have that deep connection with, they can come back 3, 4, 5 times, until we pass. And then if they want to stay with us on the other side, we stay around there too,
Can you give another example, Shirley, of when you've connected with an animal to find out what their past was, and that it also got validated?
Yeah. Are you talking about reincarnation or just somebody who rescues an animal?
A rescue.
Okay. There was a dog that was in the prison program when I was training animals there, and the inmate was having a really hard time with this dog, and this dog was not responding well. So I sat down with this dog and talked to him, and the dog actually showed me that he didn't like men because he had been pretty well beat by a man. And when I went to the inmate, told him, and we designed a program just for this dog. And when I went back to the Humane Society, because that's where they came from, the animals came from, and asked them about it, they said they had rescued this dog from an abusive situation. The guy had been arrested for animal abuse. And so, that just gave me confirmation that this dog was actually telling me the truth, that he had been almost beaten to death, and his owner at the time then was arrested.
Wow. How does that make you feel when you get that validation back that, yeah, it was right? Or is it just, you just go with the flow? Yeah, of course I'm right.
Well, no, it's not. Of course I'm right. It's like, I'm so glad I got your message. I'm so glad I understood you. And now that I understand you, now we can help you and we can help the human you're with. But I'm very grateful, and I'm always honored, and a lot of times amazed that I do get that. But I always tell the animal, thank you for being that open and letting me know that. So, I never take it for granted. Never take it for granted.
Do you feel that is it a gift that you have, if it's or a learned skill?
I think a lot of it is a gift, because there's a lot of animal communicators that don't do what I do, and some of them even tell me I can't do what you do. So, you learn a lot of things, and you learn how to interpret what the animal is saying to you, or you learn to listen to your spirit guide, because if the animal isn't talking or can't get through to you, you listen to them. And so it is learned, but it's also this gift. One of my dogs years ago that I adopted from the Humane Society and rescued him, when he came home, and he was a little Jack Russell Chihuahua mix, so, they're high energy, and I brought him home, and I said, we're gonna learn together, we're gonna be together, and he looked at me like, what the hell are you saying? And I was like, oh, he doesn't understand. And then I looked at him, and I went, you don't understand English. And he just looked up at me, and all I could hear from him was Spanish. And he had been raised in a Spanish-speaking home. And so we had to sit down, and I had to send him extra pictures. And then when we were, teaching him to sit, stay, come, all of that, he had to actually learn that, because he was speaking a different language than I was.
The animal wasn't understanding?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wasn't understanding English.
I never thought of that. Thank you for bringing that up, because an animal may be from a different background and not understand. But when they send messages telepathically, is there a language barrier?
Not really. Not really. That's why I got this thing from him that he didn't understand me, because they send pictures, and anybody can communicate with those pictures. And sometimes it takes a few extra pictures and a few extra communication like that. But that's, it's like sitting down and drawing something. Here's the house, and here's the little kids, and so if you can learn to do that, you can get through any language barrier. Yes.
I find it so essential, if you've rescued an animal, to learn their past, because it's a key to why they act the way they do now. I remember back in the day, I rescued a cat, and there was something with the male voice. Whenever I would speak, it would kind of freak her out. Sometimes she would run, and I really think that she was abused by a male. Mm-hmm. I'll never know, because I didn't know you or somebody that does animal communication, but I did know the background of that cat I mentioned, Maestro, and I feel that. And I don't know the full background. I only know what the shelter told me. And then, sometimes how do you know how accurate that is? But knowing gives you keys and clues to why they act the way they do now, and maybe how you can better support them. You feel the same?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because animals, if they are mistreated enough, they will get PTSD just like anybody else would.
Sure.
And so they have triggers. And so if you can start talking to the human about what their triggers are, then the human doesn't do it, and the animal gets more trust, and the life together just becomes this flowing thing where everybody's understanding each other and what triggers them. So I think it's almost essential that you know the background of any animal you're rescuing. It will just help in in both parties having a better relationship with each other. Absolutely.
I believe a lot of people don't even think about that, and I didn't until you had mentioned it a few times back when we started talking, because you just want to know what your animal is thinking at that moment. But the past says a lot, and even if it what you got your even if it wasn't a rescue, even if you got your dog, your cat, your pet at a young age, just knowing their history, what their parents were like, all of that, does that very often get revealed, Shirley, when you connect with an animal?
It does, because I can ask, a lot of times a puppy will tell me that they think they were taken away from their mother too soon.
Oh.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they were, but if they're taken away at, 4 weeks is way too soon, 6 weeks is way too soon, 8 weeks is, I argue that. I like it when they, 12 weeks is about right, and both animals then are about ready to be separated. But there are some animals that, they could be 5 years old and they'd be taken away from their mother too soon. But the puppies I've had horses tell me that too, and that it's hard on a horse to be taken away from its mother too soon, and they can develop psychological problems, actually. But they'll tell me if they were beat up in the litter, if their brothers and sisters, hurt them,
Wow.
if they were a bully and, they beat up on something else, if they felt neglected by their mother, if they didn't get enough to eat. There's all sorts of things that puppies will actually tell me that they feel. And most of the time, a puppy, I call them puppy brains because they're like scrambled eggs. They're kind of all over the place. But most of the time, they've got to be probably 6-8 months, and then they kind of remember where they came from and what made them feel neglected. Even if we think they weren't, an animal's view of life is so different from ours in many ways that if they don't get fresh water, to them that's like nobody loves me, or if they don't get fed enough food, or just small things. If there's a lot of yelling in the house, that a lot of times animals will view that as neglect or abuse because of the noise, and it scares them.
I'm fascinated by what you do in itself alone, but then your knowledge of animals and all different types sets you apart from anybody that does what you do.
Thank you.
What do you have? How many animals do you have at this time?
Right now, I only have 5 cats, a dog, and a goat.
Let me process that. 5 cats, a dog, and a goat?
Yeah.
Tell me about the goat. The goat is somewhat famous in terms of the literary world, isn't she?
He is, yes. His name is Tiger, and I couldn't use that in the book because that's a trade name of Disney. But I named him that because when he was only 1.5 pounds when he was born. He was a triplet, and he is a rescue. I brought him home and bottle fed him for 6 months, and he was raised in the house. And we actually litter box trained him and the other goat that I had, because you kind of have to have them together. But they both would, if they had to go potty, they would run to their litter box, which had hay in it, and they'd go potty, and then they'd get back out and they'd play. And it was great fun having these 2 little goats in the house for a while. It was, but he's now, he's going to be 11 in April, which is kind of old for a goat, but he talks to me all the time, and goats are great animals, and they're great stress relievers for humans. If you've got a good goat, there is nothing better. I mean, he runs to meet me. He knows his name, and he likes to be pet. He likes his cheeks to be rubbed, and he'll put his head at my knees. He's only knee-high. He's very small. He'll put his head against my knees and push against me to scratch his cheeks and his neck. And he's pretty spoiled. He's got a heated back room in the winter that stays at about 42. He can come out and he goes in the snow and stuff, but at night he's back there, and I dehydrate apple chips for him, and he gets grapes, and he's pretty spoiled.
I have to ask the obvious question, and this is based on watching TV, sitcoms and such. Does the goat eat things in your house?
He can, yeah. He doesn't come in anymore because he's about 80 pounds. But goats, they say goats eat anything. They don't. they don't. They will eat a lot of stuff, but, there's a lot of, they won't eat a zucchini, and they won't eat most squashes or squash plants. But they do like to eat a lot of things, and they have 3 stomachs, and so it will digest. My goat got into super glue one time, and he thought it was great. I don't know how he survived it.
Wow.
But, and copper, they have to have copper. Goats have to have selenium and copper and minerals, and if your soil doesn't have that, then you have to get this salt, and we don't have that in our soil, so there's a special salt that is made up that has minerals in it, that trace minerals that he needs. But if you have copper wire around it, that goat's going to eat it.
That's crazy. I had no idea. You reminded me of the 3 stomachs. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking to a animal communicator and veterinarian all at the same time. I really do. Like, your stuff, and not just the animals that you have, but you're connected with so many over so many years of doing this and also being intuitive. Shirley, always a pleasure talking with you. Learn so much. And again, if you have an animal who is a rescue, find out its past, its history. Do it for them. Do it for you. Do it for your family. And best way to do that is reach out to Shirley. How do we find you?
You need to go to my website, which is Shirley, and there's a Scott.com. So it's my first and last name with a dash. And there is a contact page there. The best way to contact me is through email, because I'm on the phone a lot. And I get that email, and I will email you back, and we can set up a day and time by email. And then we talk on the phone, and we can find out anything you want to know. I tell everybody have your questions ready because it facilitates the reading and the time. But just go to Shirley-Scott.com.
And the animal doesn't even have to be present, right?
No, animal doesn't have to be present, doesn't have to be around. It's real fun, though. Most people, when the animals are around, you'll say, oh, he's in the other room, he's always in the other room. And usually within a couple minutes after me talking to him, the animal will wander in and sit there and look at the human because they know I'm in contact with their energy. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for saying that word, because I wanted to share that. People who are skeptical, well, how is she even really talking to that animal if it's not in the room? It's called energy. Energy knows no time and space, and it's the same thing when you say to somebody that's in another state, hey, good luck with your surgery, sending positive vibes. You're sending energy, and that's how it works. Shirley, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Steve. Have a great day.
You too. Have you ever wondered what your pet is thinking? Have you ever wanted to tell them something? Do you want to know what is going on in their world? Shirley Scott can help you talk to your animals. As an animal communicator with over 20 years of experience, she knows the questions to ask. She gets the answer right from the animal without letting her human emotions or judgments get in the way. Shirley can help you understand what your pet is trying to tell you. She can help with behavior issues, health problems, and other communication that might help the pet's human understand them better. Her books range from how to deal with ghosts and demons, how to talk to disembodied spirits, a workbook on how to become more positive so you can live a better life, a new children's book written from her goat's point of view, and even an animal communication CD. All of these and more are available on her website. Find out more about Shirley by going to her website at shirley-scott.com. or email her at scott@shirley-scott.com. You'll find that Shirley is friendly, honest, and comes from a positive point of view. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
yeah,
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.